Greetings, this is a submission for the video contest hosted by SCP Roleplay. I'll be covering suggestions and big changes that I believe could, or should be in the Roleplay update. I'll leave timestamps on screen, and in the description so you can jump to whatever sections you would like to hear about. With that out of the way, I'll start off with Department Reworks. First up is the Security Department. Adding a riot team is an alternate choice for the Security Department, like how you select which MTF unit you play. The riot team would be naturally more resistant to Class D damage, and upgraded that number could increase. They could also optionally spawn with the SPAs instead of M4. Now we're on to the Mobile Task Forces. Due to me not having any corresponding background footage, I'll just be leaving unrelated MTF gameplay in the background. I don't really have anything for New 7, so we'll be skipping them. First up is Beta 7, which should get notifications for SCP-008 hacks. It's their job to monitor infectious SCPs, they should be given an upper hand in doing so. Also, they should be able to clean up infectious messes like SCP-008 corpses or SCP-409 corpses. Next is Epsilon 11, which was pretty hard to think of one for, but I believe they should be given the administrative department's ability of SCP breach notifications. Yes, this would be administrative department useless, but they'll get their own rework as well. Finally is Alpha 1. They should have a private radio channel with O5S and other Alpha 1 members. Alpha 1 and O5S could also have a tool that allows them to see each other's locations, making it easier to find who you need to stick with. Also lacking proper footage is the Intelligence Agency. I've had a lot of ideas relating to the Intelligence Agency, however, so this bit will be longer. I believe the Intelligence Agency should be, as the name implies, providing intelligence. The Intelligence Agency could be able to intercept or listen in on Chaos Insurgency radio communications. They should also have access to a more in-depth camera system that allows them to have access to a map showing Chaos Insurgency and Class D locations. They could also be provided tools to track what the Chaos Insurgency up to. This could be notifications when Chaos Insurgents start hacks or destroying transformers, or setting up trackers in specific areas. Anything can be possible with what the Intelligence Agency should be able to do, that I think the department could be very unique from the other roles. With this, however, that could give the Chaos Insurgency tools to do counter-attacks on the Intelligence Agency and new ways to go after the Foundation instead of just gunning them down. This could be cyber attacks that the Intelligence Agency has to stop, or the Chaos Insurgency shutting down communications for the Foundation instead. The Chaos Insurgency could also attempt to hack into Foundation databases to get whatever information they could possibly get as well, along with access to their maps to track down Foundation staff. O5 Council could be outlined in specific. This is more of an addition to both the Intelligence Agency and Chaos Insurgency, but either way it would be great to see. Due to having a bunch of smaller ideas, I'll list them here on screen. Scientific Department and Medical Department will get their own sections later in the video, they have not been left out. Now let's transition into Janitors. Such a random idea, but it could be useful for the roleplay part of the game. The only way I could see such a role working, however, is if they were a starting role. The reason that janitors have to be a starting role is because they have such a simple job, and because of the job they'd have. The janitors could clean up spills and messes. This could either give you role EXP, or card EXP. This could help new players make the grind for card level 4 just a tiny bit less tedious and time-consuming. Another idea is that janitors could clean up hazardous materials like SCP-008 lingering around certain areas, or SCP-409 corpses. The janitor role would have a much smaller ranking system, and be maxed out quicker than other roles, maybe even having less ranks than Intelligence Agency and Internal Security Department. Nothing too crazy, just a short suggestion for roleplay purposes. Let's move on to customization. This section will cover both character and gun customization. I'll show a few examples for additions to certain department and roles first before I talk about guns. First up is security department. I recommend adding a choice of goggles and proper belt. Next up, for mobile task forces, allow the player to choose between dual and quad NVG gear. You could also add a larger CHES trig or vest, along with a choice of bag. Rapid response team should also have the choice between dual and quad NVG gear. You can also give them the choice of goggles, and removing the exoskeleton they have. It wouldn't be practical in a realistic sense at all, but it's a video game. Chaos Insurgency could also get the choice between NVG gear, along with a black beret. They could also have the choice between a few bags as well for extra customization. Now, since I don't have any corresponding footage for guns, I'll be leaving an image on screen instead of gameplay. I believe more attachments should be considered, as it can lead to a lot of personalization for your playstyle and gun. As of the time of uploading pre-roleplay update, we mostly only have gun skins. Attachments like different sights like red dots, iron sights, and scopes could be great to encourage more people to play in first person and make first person only servers less insufferable, but that's a personal opinion. Grips that angle or reduce your recoil, changing the stock of your gun, and changing your barrel could all make for not only great customization but also change the stats of the gun if done right. I see that a lot can be done with the gun system in-game, that I'd love to see an entire overhaul with how bland the customization has been for so long. Now we're on to the SCPs. I'll be only going over the 3 SCPs that I've thought of big changes for, and then leave a list of smaller changes at the end of this section. First up is SCP-966, which due to being extremely hard to wrangle around will only have this screenshot instead of proper footage. SCP-966 should get an entire overhaul and rework. SCP-960-SIX's behavior should be entirely changed, and here's a suggestion as to how they should work. Upon breaching, an instance will search around and select a player. Upon finding a player, they will follow them around, almost stalking them. When being targeted by an SCP-966 instance, you will face minor effects like slowness and being relatively weaker. You could also implement a slow health drain that's unnoticeable by the player. Upon reaching a specific state or after a period of time, the SCP-966 instance will go in for the kill. While it isn't perfect to the original document, and plenty of creative liberties were taken, this is at least somewhat closer to what the original intention was. Along with this, SCP-966 has been in desperate need of a rework, and it has been stated that they will be getting a rework sometime in the future. Next up is SCP-457. This one's pretty simple but could be hard to implement. SCP-457 could spread fire to any flammable objects, causing damage to anyone that comes into contact with the fire, and it will naturally spread. Upon killing players or spreading fire, SCP-457 will grow. This will make it faster and deal more damage. Fire extinguishers can be on walls in important areas, and in SCP-457's containment chamber. These can be used on SCP-457 and any fires in the facility, making SCP-457 easier to contain. Once again, due to lacking proper footage, I will be leaving an image on screen. I believe that SCP-079 will undoubtedly get an expansion in the roleplay update, so I'm going to speculate on a bunch of ideas I have. SCP-079's options can be improved on, allowing you to breach SCPs, cause power outages, lock down doors, start hacks, shut down radios, and give information on the opposite team. SCP-079 should also have the conversation AI SCP-049 has, but changed to fit SCP-079's personality more. I'm going to be leaving a list of smaller changes to SCPs on screen. Please pause if you would like to read the list. Otherwise, we will be moving onwards. Now we're on to the scientific and medical departments. Told you they'd be getting their own sections, unlike the administrative department. First I'll go over the scientific department, then the medical department. First off, add a research wing. This will be tied into the other suggestions I'm about to give. A research wing could be a spawn for the scientific department, and much more further on. In this rough build I did, there's a board that shows basic information on certain SCPs. This could be very useful for new players who are unfamiliar with SCPs and needs a little bit of help. There can also be holding cells, where the scientific department oversee the effects of certain SCPs on Class D. This could help with researching and gathering information. This could also be where cross-testing SCPs comes along, allowing you to do so much more with SCPs. Imagine what could happen if you combine the effects of SCP-008 and SCP-409, or SCP-1025 and the newly proposed SCP-966 effects. You could also see how other SCPs would interact with each other, and it could add a lot of depth to the scientific department in SCPs. Now we're moving on to the medical department. Most of these suggestions are to help them work closer with the scientific department. Checkups should be more in-depth, allowing the medical department member to see what specific injury you have. Was it caused by a bullet wound, or is it a burn from SCP-457? Is it a claw mark or blunt for trauma? This could mean the medical department can treat specific wounds in specific ways to help with injuries in a more roleplay intensive way. The medical department could also help scientific department members with tests. The medical department can research and diagnose illnesses from SCP-1025, or learn how to treat diseases from SCP-1025. With the last suggestion as well, they could check anomalous injuries and try to treat them, or help when researching SCP-008 and SCP-409. Hey, this section is going to be very short as I don't really have many ideas relating to Class D activities or any relating footage. With that being said, I do have a few small ideas. An exercise area, where it could be a small mini-game to successfully do whatever workout you're doing. There could also be other types of common card and board games. Chess, Uno, Bingo, Poker, Blackjack. There's so many random and simplistic card and board games that I'm sure almost anything could work. You could even go the route SCP site Roleplay went, and add a boxing arena where Class D can beat each other up to pass the time between testing. Apologies for this section being so short, I just don't have many ideas I could flesh out. Due to being incapable of getting proper fitting footage in SCP Roleplay for what I'm going to be talking about, I am once again going to take the lazy route of putting an image on screen. I'm gonna go off of a list and give a short description of each suggestion, due to how many there are. Go to points, parts that you can place and name that will be added to the go to list. Blackout lights, you can add lights that upon the blackout command being used will be affected. Door additions, you can spawn the breach shelter door and the helipad door. Nuke safety, a no collisions part that when the nuke goes off you'll live and be safe. Good for custom sites. Particle additions, allow people to make custom particle images, size, speed, and range. Moving parts, pretty self-explanatory. More tools, such as negate, separate, unions, and constraints. Could be really good for detailed building. SCP additions, allowing players to move SCPs with tools, and maybe giving parts infectious properties. More spawns, where you can place O5 spawns, and separate the MTF unit spawns. World edits, allowing you to change the color of the sky, how thick the fog is, and how much fog there is. In-depth F3X guide, where a tab or button goes in depth about every tool, and the specifics of each tool helping newer builders get into the sandbox tools provided. You thought the image with text was over, but you'd be wrong, since we're nearing the end of the video. This is a simple list of quality of life changes. Yep, this is just another pause if you want to read it section. I'll move on now.
Hey, I'm GTP7X, the guy who runs the filming crew, the channel that this video is probably uploaded to. This section is mostly just closing thoughts on my personal opinions on the current state of SCP Roleplay, pre-Roleplay update, I guess. Most of this section is just going to be a one take. I'm going to be reading off like a bulleted list. My audio probably isn't even going to be edited. You're going to hear so many mistakes. It doesn't matter. This is just a conclusion. You're free to click off if you'd like. I believe the state that SCP Roleplay has been in has been unhealthy for the game. Yes, there's been a few spaced out major updates, but it's always just been a shooter with an SCP theme, you know? And I think that consensus has been shared widely throughout the community for a while. There's even jokes and memes about it at this point that I've seen floating around. But when it just boils down to that, it's become unhealthy, because there's no reason for people to keep on coming back to the game once they've maxed out all the departments. Maybe they're dedicated and get all the skin, but it's just, there's nothing more, you know? And I feel like with the more developers on the game, this could definitely, well, not just on SCP Roleplay, but on, you know, Site-006 and Glacier, which I plan to get involved in sometime later, but that's beyond the point. And on SCP Roleplay, just more people part of Meta Method, I think, could definitely be really good, because more content, more updates, more effort, you know. This could be a massive turning point for the game, because it was starting to rapidly lose players, and the only thing keeping the game alive is the faction scene at the moment. I would have had a portion of this video dedicated to factions, but I think most of what that was can be boiled down to, oh, you know, factions are gonna get official support, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's pretty much all. It could just be summarized in one sentence, which I think could be said for a lot of in this video, which is definitely my bad, but what all can you do, right? I've already complained about the shooter comparison and all, but I feel like the roleplay update could be a massive change, because it's based off of the roleplay part of the SCP roleplay game, you know? Could be huge, or I just hope this is pulled off well, though. If this is done poorly, it's probably gonna suck, because it's gonna change everything about the game, apparently. Well, not everything, but, you know, the general feel of the game and how it's played. So if it's done poorly, that could be bad, but I have faith in the developers, you know? Clearly, if more developers have been brought on, it's gotta be good, right? I have faith for this update, but SCP Roleplay is a game I hold very close to me. I mean, a lot of what I do relates to SCP Roleplay, or will, so I kind of need to have faith in this game. But I'm not just saying that out of obligation, you know. I have found the game fun to play in my free time. It's just not as much recently due to the lack of content, yeah? I think that's really all I have to talk about, yeah. Okay, oh, actually, random plug, check out the other filming crew content. You know, that is the channel that this stuff is uploaded to, so it would be nice if you were to check out our other content, while lacking in recent months due to a hiatus, but I'm sure we'll get things moving eventually, hopefully, and it won't be another unspoken hiatus for 6 more months. But yeah, that's actually all I have to talk about. Cool. Man, this is the least organized conclusion ever.